I'm Carole Peters. I serve as the president and CEO of United Way Next, and I am so pleased to see so many familiar names and faces on the screen. And really excited about today's orientation because this is really truly about all of you. And we just want to give you a warm welcome to United Way Next as our newest members. We do have a few people that may join later. I don't see their names yet on the screen that haven't yet joined, and they're kind of testing us out today and learning more about the organization. So we do have a PowerPoint slide that we'll go through in a little bit, but first we kind of want to take a moment to introduce those who are representing United Way Next, and then we'll give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. So Barbara, would you like to go next?
Sure, great. Thanks, Carole. Hello, everyone. Good to see some old friends, Chuck and Katie, and make new friends today. My name is Barbara Edmond. I am speaking with you today from my home in Liberty, Maine. And I am for just till the end of the month, the board chair of United Way Next. So Carole and I have been working very much in tandem for this last year. And you want me to share United Way background? Is that what Carole?
Sure.
Okay. So I spent 32 years in philanthropy, 26 of which were in United Way, 9 years at United Way Worldwide, and 18 in local United Ways, 15 of which was as CEO of the United Way of York County. And that's how I got to meet Chuck Anderson, who I think has dropped off, but he'll get back, because Chuck ran the United Way of York County in Pennsylvania while I was running the United Way of York County, and we used to swap mail because we get each other's money. So that's how I met him. So glad to be here today.
Great. Thanks, Barbara. Christina, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Christina Lawrence. I'm the member services associate for United Way Next. I started back in the old days when it was United Way Retirees Association a few years ago, and I'm the one. So now you have a face with the name of the emails you get about renewals and thank yous, etc. And I live actually in Jacksonville, Florida.
Great. Thanks, Christina. Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm the program marketing associate. I've been with United Way Next for a year and a half. I live in Wisconsin, and I started as an intern at United Way of Walworth County. But so basically, if you are getting any emails with events or Zoom links, those are all coming from me.
And Caitlin is also behind the scenes working on our newsletter. So most recently has taken on some of that responsibility to help make sure you're updated with that news. So we would love to invite you to go around and share. And I'm not going to bring up the PowerPoint to give all that direction, but if you're okay, I'll just call on you one by one and have you unmute and share a little bit about your background, your United Way experience, and where you're calling in from today. So Pamela Sanderson was first on. She was a few minutes early. We got to hear a bit about her, but go ahead and tell the whole group all about yourself, Pamela.
Oh, okay.
Take a minute each.
Okay. Yeah. And I seem to think I was with the United Way of Yellowstone County, which is in Billings, Montana. I seem to have some remembrance of maybe working with Barbara at one point in time.
I was just going to say that your name sounded familiar. So.
Yeah, I just remember you were really helpful.
I did some board chairs for Billings, I think. So,
yeah.
Board retreats or something.
Right. And I was, so my history with United, well, I stayed home and did lots of volunteer work while my children were growing up. But one of the things that I was asked to do was to, I'd finished another kind of major job in the community. And at the time, there were 56 people on the United Way board. So this will take some of you back. and they were asked, someone I knew was on the nominating committee, and she challenged the nominating chair that there were very few women on the board. And he simply said to her, if you can find some, go get some. So I got the call, knew nothing about United Way. So asked if the nominating chair, if I could talk to someone I knew, and they said, you'd have to do that. And I said, yes, I need to know what's expected of me. So at that point, I joined the United Way board. I served 2 terms on the United Way board. 2 years of that, I was chair of the United Way board. So that's a little different background than some of you may have coming from that side. At that point, my children were about to go to college. I went and was the first development director for our local symphony. And after 2 years, I was hired as the associate director for United Way. That was 30 years ago. So I've got that plus that volunteer history with the organization. And so I was then when I was the associate director, I did a little bit of everything. A few months ago, the United Way here is not in good financial condition. And so they had to eliminate some positions, and mine was one of them. And I was ready. I mean, I'm long past retirement age, so I was ready to do that anyway. So middle of March, full-time was no longer full-time, but they kept me on part-time because we had a big community disaster commitment that somebody needed to do. So since then, I've been not with the United Way as a staff member anymore. They can't let me do anything as a volunteer that I was paid to do without paying me. So that's kind of wage and hour stuff. So that's kind of where I am right now. I'm still continuing to do some work with our local emergency planning committee. I chair a committee and I'm working there. This is kind of a long tenure, why I'm not sure, but I was on the first volunteer engagement committee for United Way Worldwide. And as a retiree, they have allowed or asked me to stay on in that capacity because I actually have more time now to do things than the people who are busy every day at a local United Way. So I'm continuing to work with Janelle and with that group at United Way Worldwide. So that's my United Way connections.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all that. We really appreciate it. I'd like to call on Kitty, Dana, to go next.
Hello to all of you, and it's really wonderful to see Caitlin and Christine, whose names I've only seen on the email. So lovely to see you all, and great to hear from you, Pamela, and look forward to hear from the others. I was with United Way Worldwide for, I think, just short of 6 years, and that was my only United Way work experience. I certainly have worked with United Way and continue to in my position after that, the National League of Cities. I often had worked with city teams with elected officials, and they will bring their local United Way as one of their really vital, essential partners to do work that's really about going upstream to address the context in which people live. That health is, my work had always been in health, and health is not just about doctors and hospitals. I still remember the first time that a friend of mine actually told me about the position of VP of Impact in Health being available at UWW. And my first reaction was United Way. Like, why would I want to work for United Way? They're just about raising money and throwing it at the community. They're very, they're good people, but not particularly strategic. Well, that was the time when people like Barbara and others were really taking up the mantle as United Way transformed to be an impact organization. Yeah. So I was honored to join at that time, absolutely loved my time there, loved working with Barbara and many of my other impact colleagues, as well as just loving to serve local United Way leaders, people like you, Pamela, Chuck, and others that are really where the rubber hits the road. So I felt that ultimately health is about going upstream before people need to be cured of sicknesses. So happy to have had the chance with United Way.
That's great, Kitty. And where are you calling in from today? Did you tell us that?
Yes, I'm calling in from Bethesda, Maryland. So I live in the National Capital area.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chuck Anderson, would you like to go next? We'll have you.
There we go. I got to unmute you. Hello, everybody. I'm not sure what the question is because I got on a little bit late. So what am I going next?
Yep, we're just introducing ourselves, talk a little bit about your United Way experience and where you're calling in from today.
Well, I still live in United Way, Pasco County. Barbara and I go back a year or two, right, Barbara? We both worked at United Way of York County, only she worked at York County in Maine and I worked at the United Way in York, Pennsylvania. I've got a long career in United Way. These gray hairs probably speak to that effect. I've been in this United Way about 5 years. I guess you could argue that this is my second retirement from United Way, but I was in Palm Beach, then left and was working at Catholic Charities for a while, did some consulting. And then, these people were looking for someone and here I am. And I was thinking, boy, it's nice to get back into a smaller community, a little less complex. It's not less complex at all. The times are so much more complex than when I was in a smaller community. And I've been in other ways. I was in National Capital Area. I was in worked at UW for a little bit, UWA in those times. But Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Flint, Michigan,
Wow.
for those of you who can imagine that. And then Delaware and then DC, and came down to Florida, Palm Beach, and then, like I said, left. And about 5 years Catholic Charities, and then these people needed some help, and here I am. And so I'm kind of toying with the end date. I don't know when that'll be, but it's a great career. Yeah, it was a great organization, and I feel blessed to be able to come back and be able to enjoy it the way I have, because I really have truly enjoyed this United Way. But like anything, time moves on, and I need to move on. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. Barbara was trying to say something, but you're on mute, Barbara, so we didn't hear what you said at the beginning.
Yeah, Barbara, what'd you have to say, my good friend Barbara?
Oh, I just, while you went away and logged back in, I told them the mutual York County stories, how we used to have to swap money.
Duplicative stories, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes you
That's
get some mail about York and I get some mail about York. It's always just kind of funny. And then we overlapped at UWA for a little while, right?
Yeah.
I think
we
so.
served on MPC together, so we spent
oh gosh,
many a
MPC,
time.
Yeah. It was a number of different things, but it's a great career, great organization, and feel blessed for the time I had. So
that's great. Well, and today's all about connecting. And so this is just a great, small world story of how long all of us have been connected to each other across the country, some of us longer than others. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Bonnie Duncan, if you want to unmute and share a little bit about your background, where you're calling in from today.
So are you keeping track of all the years that everybody's been working?
Good, wouldn't that be fun?
Centuries. So I have been very fortunate to live and work in the same community for many, many years. So I'm a One United Way kind of gal. I started with United Way of Hunterdon County back in '97, and I stayed there till I retired in 22. So 25 years in Hunterdon County in New Jersey. A lot of great the nice thing about a small state is you tend to be able to connect with your colleagues pretty easily. They're all in driving distance. And I've been retired now for just over a year. Have really enjoyed United Way Next, and a graduate of the interim executive director program. So having some fun with everything else going on. So I really do enjoy United Way Next. It's a great group of people, and there's a lot of good stuff coming out of it, and still keeps my brain functioning. So welcome, everybody.
That's great. Thanks, Bonnie, for that testimonial of the benefit of United Way Next that you've experienced so far. That's great. Anna Murphy.
Hello everyone, and it's Anna. I know that's okay because I spell it with 2 N's, so everyone thinks it's Anna, and I like to just be different, I guess. I don't know. So I'm with United Way of Southwest Michigan, which is right down in the far corner, right across from Chicago, right across the lake, right on the lake. Sure. I've been with this United Way, still currently with this United Way, not retired yet. I don't have that luxury. I would love to have that luxury. For 25 years. It's the only United Way I've been at. I did start out as a volunteer. I was making decisions on funding, and my first job with United Way, when I was hired, I was the director of First Call for Help, which is now fast forward to 211. But I was also part of writing the legislation for the state of Michigan to get that ruling in for 211. So I've had a lot of history with 211. But over the years, I never worked at United Way Worldwide or United Way of America, but sometimes I felt like I did. I had been involved in a number of efforts. I was part of one of the executive leadership programs. I helped create LEAD back when, and I just lost her name. Irina was there.
Irina, yes.
So
Yep.
it goes back a little bit, and since then I've worked on a variety of task force, committee work. When Angela came in, I was part of that, the group of task force, we're looking at the operating model, and I was just asked to be put on one of the financial work groups again. So I'm still doing some things with United Way Worldwide. But locally here, like I said, I've not retired yet. I will retire at some point here. But my passion is helping other nonprofits in general. United Ways have a big part of my passion around their boards and board development. It's always been kind of my passion point. So I have been dabbling into that. I've helped a couple other United Ways. I'm going down to Florida with another colleague to help a United Way down there, but also just helping organizations be the best that they can. We too are anticipating some financial challenges. Our campaign last year did not do as well. This year it's not looking good either. So we are in the very first time in my history, my tenure here, that we've actually had to make some staff reductions. So the leadership that we need as CEOs today is very different than what I started with, what many of us started with. So having people to connect with around that, even that I'm still in it and some of you are not in it, would be very helpful. My goal is to retire between hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, and then continue on trying to give back as much as I can. So yeah, so that's kind of where I came from and where I still am.
That's great. Thank you, Anna, for sharing. I wrote some notes about you because we're always looking for potential guest speakers, which we'll talk about a little bit later, of subject matter experts on certain things. So board development or,
oh, great.
Board work could be an area that could help others. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Nancy Pinto is on mute, and she said she's in the car driving. So she said she loves listening and being a part of these conversations. So unless Nancy, you're at a point where you'd like to unmute, we'd love for you to introduce yourself. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move on. And I'm going to just for a moment share my screen and pull up this little PowerPoint that we had put together for today, just to give us some sense of where we're going. Give me a second so I can bring it back to the top. I had gone, whoops.
While Carole's doing that, I'll just jump in to say that Nancy Pinto is from Clearfield area, United Way in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. So.
Yeah, and Nancy serves there as their executive director. I've known her for several years. We met at the Great Rivers Conference several years ago, and I've just always been a fan of Nancy. She's a ton of fun and a very spirited executive director. So today's agenda.
I'm going to add, this is Chuck, that
oh, sure.
Nancy and I go back a few years as well, and coincidentally, one of my predecessors was a close friend of Nancy's. So I saw her on the screen and just love to see how she's doing. So yeah. Just great seeing her and look forward to connecting with her at some point. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, and today is a conversation. So, don't feel like you all have to stay on mute. We really want this to be conversational. If you've got something you want to share or thoughts, we'll be open to that. I'll just kind of briefly go over what we were going to do. So we've covered the first two with the welcome and the introductions. We'll talk about United Way Next and our purpose, who we are as a community of United Way leaders and alumni, and current staff and retirees. We'll talk a bit about our board and the work groups that do a lot of the heavy lifting around the work that we're putting together for your benefit, and our 2023 strategic priorities, which are really at the end of the year here, wrapping up. Our funding, what that looks like, member benefits, and then our engage and exchange events, opportunities to connect with us on social, and our e-newsletters. So I'll move it forward. I just want to make sure, and I'm not sure, Barbara, where we are on who takes which slide. So if you feel like it's your turn, I'm happy to turn it over.
No, go ahead. I think I'm after this one.
Okay, so you know, sometimes people, because we've rebranded, so I'll just back up and say, you know, we were the United Way Retirees Association for 31 years, and in the last couple of years, we've rebranded to United Way Next. So just making sure that we share with you, you know, a bit about United Way Next and who we are as a community. And really, it's about making connections amongst our members and the United Way network, as well as using our talents and resources to make a difference. So our purpose, Barbara, I'll turn it over to you because I think you're this person.
Great, great. Well, yes, and I think all of you in your comments have already greatly lifted up our purpose. So our purpose is to harness the passion and experience of both former and current United Way leaders. So as Carole said, the connection. And we want to connect people. We want to help them communicate with each other, and we want to connect them to care for each other. So our commitment as an organization is for the betterment of you as individuals, of United Way in your community, of United Way as a network, and ultimately of communities across through connection, service, and inspiration. And by doing that, we really strive to be an inclusive, diverse network of leaders. And that really did lead to our rebranding, because we knew all along we were much bigger than just retirees, but our name didn't reflect that. So the next slide just gives you a quick overview of some history, but the United Way Retirees has been around since 1990. So it's over 30 years old. It is primarily a voluntary membership organization, and we have, these are the numbers. We're going to recalculate our numbers at the end of the year, so they'll be bigger than these because we know we've grown, but about 350 individual members and about 127 supporting local United Ways. And the individual members are diverse. You know, they're, like I said, retirees, alumni, could be, you know, people who are younger and just left, or people who don't like the word retirees and just say, I'm an alumni, I don't like that word. And then this year, really with our new branding, we've always had the opportunity to have current employees as members. I first joined when I was a employee at United Way Worldwide, so I was not retired at the time. So we really have a diverse group, and I'll talk about the next couple of things as we move along here. But I just wanted to share with you just a slide, a little bit to talk about our branding. So our name, as everyone now knows, is United Way Next, about 1.5 years. And I remember Kitty coming back into the fold. She came to our name kickoff. So that was wonderful to reconnect at that time. But I just wanted to share, this is a little bit behind the scenes, and you'll probably never see this again. But when we were trying to come up with our new name, we actually did some work with a consultant, and this was the brand prototype that we wanted to lift up. And so the kind of the basis of the prototype is sage, not, oh, we're so smart, we know everything, but sort of more like a soft wisdom. Thinkers, leaders, people who have been around or have experienced something. And given, you know, Anna, what you talked about, you've got a lot of experience too, and that there's people in the room who have some knowledge and are willing to share some knowledge. And so that's what we really all want to be about, the connecting, the sharing knowledge, being lifelong learners, I learn every day when I participate in a United Way Next program, be it what's going on at United Way, or, we had a program this week on mental health, which I learned a lot about. We hope our biggest strengths are wisdom, experience, intelligence, and encouragement. So especially in today's world when things are tough, as many folks had mentioned, sometimes, leaders are in a lonely spot, and often what you most need is just somebody to pick up the phone and get some encouragement from. So that's what we hope to do. What we want you as an audience of members to feel is what you need to help us judge along the way and tell us if we're on the mark or off the mark. But we want you to feel connected. We want you to feel engaged. We want you to feel in the know, and also sort of like intellectually motivated, that when you're involved with United Way Next, you're thinking and, thinking about possibilities or things that and things that you could share. So that's just a little background, but the other brands that are in this Sage category are people like Oprah. She's in a Sage brand, the BBC, and maybe even Yoda from Star Wars is what is considered Sage brand. So we think we're in really good company, and that's what we were trying to achieve. As we've talked, we've got a really diverse membership base. It's peers, mentors, colleagues, everybody who just wants to come together for a place to network, to listen, and to contribute. And we gather for a whole bunch of reasons. Carole, I'll let you move that slide forward. We gather with this profound purpose and belonging that drew us all to United Way in the first place. Whether you were with United Way for 4 years, 5 years, or 25 years, there's something that keeps people coming back to this mission of, increasing the lives of the caring and the improvement of the lives of people. And many, many people say, yeah, I may have left, I don't work there anymore, but they still have this feeling in the heart. And that's what we are trying to keep going. And when you think, as I look around the screen and I think about all the folks that are involved with United Way Next, there's so much talent that has been in and out of the network over the course of many years. And to have it just walk out the door and not be of any value is kind of criminal. So our job is to just kind of keep it going. And then you as a member get to decide what you want that to look like and how much or how little you want to stay involved. And then lastly, just organizationally, we are governed by a board of directors. We have an 18-member board of directors. This is our 2023 roster. And as I shared at the very beginning, I will be rotating off at the end of the year. Ed Rivera, the former CEO from Albuquerque, New Mexico, will be coming on as chair. But I think we've got a dynamic group of folks, and we've got some new people coming on. And so hopefully you recognize some names here. But it's very much a working board. Carole is a part-time CEO, and Christina and Caitlin work small numbers of hours each week. So we really depend on the volunteers to help make this all work. And the way we work is we have a whole bunch of committees. No surprise, as any organization. But I'll just mention what they are. Engage in Exchange is our programming. How do you get into this world? Where do you talk? Where do you exchange? We have a resource development and membership recruitment committee, marketing, nominating, all the normal stuff that one would have, finance. We have a very active diversity, equity, inclusion group. And new this year is our member segment value committee, which is where we're really doing some innovative work, primarily focused at the moment on the alumni segment. So how do we bring back younger alumni who were in the network and then went on to other things? So that's kind of how we keep moving. And if you're interested in getting involved in any of those things, we'd love to have you. So I think that's all I needed to share, Carole.
Thank you. Let's see here if I can move my slide. So last year, so I want to back up and just share, and I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and just reintroduce myself. So at the beginning, I didn't share this with you, and I want to make sure everyone knows, and many of you do, but you may not. So especially for Anna, who is still working at a local United Way, I was a local United Way CEO in McHenry County, Illinois, and came into this role after I had left that position. I called it a retirement because I really thought I was going to stop working and just sail into the sunset, spend my winters in Florida with my husband, who's a retired teacher, and just enjoy the sunshine and warmth. And after about 9 months, I realized I couldn't just sit around and play board games and hang out, even though that was a lot of fun and I enjoyed every minute. And I really needed a reprieve, a break, a moment in time to just take a break. So I quickly realized I needed something to engage in it and get back, either into a part-time role or find some other volunteer activities, which the position then was posted that this was open and that they were rebranding to United Way Next, which really was inspirational for me because I thought of myself as a young retiree and I wasn't sure I would fit into like a retirement position, just being retired. And I felt really confident after reading the job description and the rebranding information that I was meant to be a part of this organization and do this work alongside each and every one of you, our board of directors, and all of the volunteers that really make the things come to life that we're a part of. And so I am so fortunate that I served as a local United Way leader because every day my lens is different than it would be if I was simply working for another association or didn't have that experience. And I talk on a daily basis to local United Way leaders who are seeking out additional support from United Way Next, specifically our members who may serve as mentors or who are willing to do consulting work, pro bono, volunteer. It could be paid work, could be me connecting other leaders, so Anna to other leaders in the network. And so just wanted to share that bit about my background because it's really helped expand, I think, across the United Way network, the resources that we're able to deploy to the local United Ways and bring a meaningful experience to all of you as members who may say, I want to raise my hand and be a volunteer. And so I'll just share briefly that Bonnie had gone through the Interim Executive Leadership Academy. She is one of those folks on the roster that could potentially be out serving as a paid interim director. And I called on her a couple months ago when a small local United Way sought out some additional support because they had a leadership transition. They were not in a position to pay anyone. They weren't in a position to pay for any extra consulting. They really needed some added support. So Bonnie and I kind of linked arms and wrapped our arms around this little local United Way, which is in southern Wisconsin. And I did a lot of communicating with the board member and the volunteer who stepped into that leadership role. And Bonnie came alongside as a mentor and is continuing to support them in that role. And so just an example of kind of the way we show up across the network. And, Bonnie, you already gave a great testimonial that you've enjoyed plugging in and being a part of this community. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to share about that, but I just thought it would be important to maybe express some of that before I launch into what were some of these strategic priorities that we were working on this year. So Bonnie, I'll let you comment if you want.
So I think that with so many other things that you do in life, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And often it comes to you in ways you don't even expect. So I think just being open to all of that. And I think it was Anna who was talking about board development, whatever. I think that as whatever our roles have been, we probably have those things that we think we do better than other things. And so being able to capitalize on those things, and the committee structure really has allowed folks who want to do a little bit more to sort of use that area that they see themselves as more expert in, rather than it's always a spinning hat of what do I have to do today, but being able to sort of focus on either the things you liked doing the best in your job or you thought you did better than other things and being able to give that back. I think United Way just in general is a give back kind of an organization, and that you sort of get branded in your DNA with that. And I feel like there's always a sense of give back.
And you raise a really good point that our work groups that have expanded this last year, which thanks to Barbara Edmond as board chair for the work that she did to really help us vision for the future. What did we as United Way Next need to focus on in order to take things to another level? And it was expanding those work groups. So let me share my screen and I'll share about these priorities that we're kind of focused on this year, which will continue to kind of move forward, and then we'll shift and adjust. We relaunched, I'll say, 2 areas that we called resources, and that is the endowment plan giving faculty who are focused on supporting local United Ways with pro bono mentorship and support. We had 5 different learning sessions that were focused on plan giving, where local United Way are able to join at no cost to them to participate. And a key piece to this is that United Way Worldwide has actually asked us to support them with this additional resource. So we're not just doing it on our own, we're doing it in partnership with United Way Worldwide. And we work really closely with the state associations as well to ensure that we're aligned when we're looking to kind of close the gap on something that may be a resource to the network. And then the interim executive placements was another area where we've had just short of 20 inquiries this last year of potential opportunities for placing candidates across the country. And I anticipate that's going to continue to grow because unlike many of you who have served in your roles for many years, there seems to be a lot of transition going on across the network and all nonprofits as a whole. We really looked at our events. So there's a lot of different programming that are offered for all of you as members of Next, and we'll show at the end. There's a link for the slide for our website page. It showcases all of our engage and exchange events. This year, moving into 24, we're going to be really intentional about looking at what are those events for individuals who represent retirees and alumni. What will attract alumni that may not really have time to come to a learning session or be interested in that at this point, but what does interest them? So we're going to be really moving that to another level. Our revenue was a key focus area this year because we had lost some big funding last year due to just some shifts with United Way Worldwide and other corporations, but we're happy to say that all 3 of them were able to make an investment in 2023 at the beginning of 2023, and we're confident that that's going to come again in 24. So that's really set us up for a more successful year. We're always looking for new revenue opportunities because, as you can imagine, when you have a $25 membership fee, it isn't necessarily enough to sustain. So we're looking for new opportunities. And I think there's another slide that shows kind of how the revenue is broken out. And lastly, it was really taking this brand to the next level and making sure that we're living out what we planned for or envisioned as part of United Way Next. Sorry, my screen stopped moving. So this was the funding. These are the funding sources. You can see 40% of the revenue comes from local United Ways. 25% is from leadership gifts, which would be individual members that choose to give more than their $25 membership dues. So we invite people to be a part of our leadership giver circle, which starts at $100. We have some funds that comes from our endowment. The endowment has over, I think, $240,000, and it generates a percentage of that each year is made available that we can take and use as part of Next. And then we have, as we mentioned, our corporate support, and then the dues, and a very tiny amount comes from our interim executive leadership piece when we have a placement at a local United Way. So this is where I'm going to turn it back over to Barbara, I believe, and really just look to you all for some feedback. And so we'd ask the question, what would you most like to see United Way Next offer or do that would provide you, the member, with the most value?
Yeah, and I hope you all kind of come off mute and share your thoughts. I mean, you've heard from a few people like Bonnie in terms of what it's meant to her. If Nancy was off mute, she'd probably have some more to tell you as well. some of you are just coming into the fold. Maybe you're just checking this out today. But what are you hoping for? Is we're always trying to move and improve. So we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our members. So how would you answer that question? What are you looking for?
I don't know why my camera now is off. Oh, there I am.
There you are.
After 4 years or 3 years of using Zoom, you'd think it would just be flawless. I think if I heard the question, I'm sorry, I was a little bit interrupted there, but for me, still being in the network and trying to figure out truly what is next. And I so appreciate the rebranding, because I am also one that says to myself, okay, yeah, retirement's a thing that you do because you have to like do paperwork or something differently, but it's not something that I'm going to actively do. One, because I love this work so much that I want to continue it in some aspect. So I think what I'm looking for between now and then is, one, the connections, obviously, the resources to help me prepare for what that next is, but also to continue to be able to lend a voice or an opportunity of, like you said, Carole, mentorship or of learning while I'm still here. Yeah, so I think that's really what I think that's what I'm kind of looking for.
That's really helpful. Thanks, Anna.
Great. Yeah.
Someone else? Pam or Kitty or Chuck, any thoughts?
I guess for me, actually, at this point that I'm at, I'm trying to avoid sitting and reading and watching television all day, which one day I will have to do, but at this point, I don't think it's healthy. So I'm exploring what else is there out there for me to do. And one of the things that I've done here for a long time in our community is done a lot of training around volunteer management, board development, impact, all of those kinds of things. Also, especially around the volunteer engagement, this United Way is kind of having to backtrack because of their funding situation. And so I've been involved in that area worldwide and locally enough that kind of am able to help people think big picture about those kinds of things. And so training is something I'd like to do. I haven't reached out. Local organizations know I'm still available, but I'm really just exploring where would be something that would interest me, engage me. So I'm exploring, I guess, at this point. So I can't really tell you much more than that.
Sounds great. That's perfect. Perfect to explore.
Exploring is great. Yes.
Yeah.
And we're the best place to come and do that because you can just be a part of it and choose to join when you feel like it's the right time. So
yeah, many of you know or heard of Michael Wilkinson, who until recently ran leadership strategies out of Atlanta. And he recently stepped aside and he coined a new word. He's like, I don't like retirement. It sounds like you're going backwards. So he coined the new word preferment, which exactly explains what it feels like for me. I just moved from working full time every day to working, and I work a lot. Carole keeps me very busy. My kids are like, you're the busiest retiree I ever knew. But it's on things that I want to do. Yeah. And so that's where the preferment comes from. It's like, now I do what I want to do, and I don't do stuff I don't want to do. But it doesn't mean I'm not busy. Kitty, I saw you came off mute. What do you think?
No, I just so much, resonated with me. I had not heard of the term preferment, but that's exactly how I feel. I did not mention when I introduced myself that I am retired from paid gigs. All right, I'm very clear. I am only retired from paid gigs. And I think my husband has said the same thing. Whenever friends ask how's retirement, he say, what? She's retired. But it is the flexibility to do whatever I want to do. So I'm very, very involved with work related to voter rights and getting out the vote. That's essential to me. I would say much of my work is nonpartisan. I have my preferred candidates. I'm actually independent, so I'm not favoring a party just because it's a party. And I just think that I think this country is at a vital crossroads, and whatever I could do from just picking up the phone and calling people in targeted states, right, where I could help people understand how to vote. Right? Some of it is some people don't vote because it's confusing, especially with the new laws that have come out the last few years. And then the other part is keeping up with the public health field. So I'm on two public health organizations boards, and I'm president of the board of one of them, which had actually been my mentor for decades. So just hearing what Anna and Pamela had to say about serving on boards and how we could help each other. I think just share experiences and grow, and perhaps also in the process of, for those of us who may be exploring, seeing the real things that some of us are doing, which may give you cause to want to explore that, or no, that ain't for me. But I think just to see the rich diversity of ways that we can contribute and have purpose at this stage in our life, and have purpose in a way that is not, I have to say, as much as I love my jobs, they have all been high-paced, stressful jobs, that sometimes I love my job, but no matter which way you look at it, it's a rat race. I like to not have a rat race, but continue to contribute as fully as I could. So it's just wonderful hearing from all of you.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. I guess I didn't think of it from that perspective, but we talk about board development, thinking that local United Ways need board development. And Pam, you talked about volunteer engagement. We know that with many, many new leaders coming from other fields, they don't get it. They don't understand the benefit of engaging volunteers and how that can use. But Kitty, that whole idea that there's so many of us that are being board chairs for other organizations, that sharing is a whole nother dimension of that, which is awesome. So thanks for that. Chuck, any thoughts?
Sure. Always got some thoughts, you know that.
We'll take them.
Well, it's interesting when I heard Carole talking about, what'd you say, sitting on the beach and playing cards or something like that? I think that's kind of my worry too. That ain't me. So I'm going to force myself to take some time off, because, all the years of working, just take some time, probably travel a little bit out of country. But I think what I like about the Next is being able to reconnect to some of the colleagues, like Barbara, and I see Nancy still on, and then meet some new ones even still after all these years. And I did actually, Carole, this before your time, I don't remember the interim, the Retirees Association exec. I did some consulting with the United Way of Texas as an outgrowth of the then United Way Retirees Association. I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. It was part of a mentoring role, helping that person kind of assimilate into their role. And it's really fun, because you're right. There's a certain level of, and others on here, wisdom that's been accumulated over the years. I'd like to think that it's wisdom. Sometimes maybe not so much, but I think for the most part it's wisdom. And so I think that the reconnecting with people who have been wonderful over the years. Secondly, being able to use this wisdom in a more meaningful way. I'd like to do to help other United Ways, and I'm glad, by the way, to serve. I'm still working, and I'm still going to work for a little while longer, but be able to assist people in even a pro bono. So if you run into somebody who wants to deal with who's dealing with an issue, give me a ring. I'm glad to help them. And then I don't know how many of you are aware, but this United Way is very actively involved in trafficking arena, human trafficking, and that became a passion of mine. I administered a large program through Catholic Charities for about 5 years. And when I came here, looked around and obviously a lot of trafficking issues. Tampa Bay has the third highest human trafficking rate in a state with the third highest human trafficking experiences going on. So we got substantial funding, both from the feds and recently the state. And, that's going to remain a passion. I plan to continue to work in that arena. I don't know exactly how, but I will. And so if there's a role that I can play to assist others after something that the hours are a little less predictable, a little bit less, 9 to 5, for lack of a better term. I think I heard Katie say, you want to find the things where you can make a difference. And she talked about the health and the voting arena. And I do think I can do some stuff, not just with United Way, but other nonprofits. Our experience as United Way is very unique. And I love what you said earlier, Barbara. These jobs are interesting. You need somebody to talk to sometimes. And, I've done this a long time, so I can kind of, I have the benefit of experience, but there's a lot of new people out there. They don't have that. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of them, Barbara, from, our years working together did not come from this business. And maybe that's good too. It's good to get that fresh point of view. But I do see, as I witness some things, and I don't want to point fingers, I just witnessed some things that said it's really a shame because that loss of experience, I see some reinventing the wheel going on, and also not benefiting from the experience of maybe accumulated wisdom like here in this group. And so I hope that the United Way Worldwide, for example, is taking advantage of the knowledge that you're all bringing to the table. Because I think
we're
it's
working
great
on that,
Yeah, good leadership, good input.
we just have to keep at it, because there was that perception that, we're all old watching TV and just want to get together to just talk about the old days. And yeah, it's fun. I mean, now it's much more active. We do get together, we see each other, but we're working on something,
Mm-hmm.
We're not just mm-hmm. talking for the sake of talking.
Well, I think what Angela's doing, and I'll stop, what Angela's doing on a national scale is wonderful and international. But I think she could really benefit from input, not necessarily from me, but from a lot of the people who are on that board. I looked at some of the names, including, some of your names, and boy, it sure would be good if she could sound people out on the way things might have been done in the past. Maybe they weren't perfectly done, but there's a lot of good too over the years. And yes, we need to continue to change and develop.
You can help us plant that idea. We work on it hard. To her credit, she's had a lot on her plate in the last year and a half. So we're kind of low on the totem pole, but anyway, but what I do want to say is that that's another reason that there's kind of a revival of United Way Next, and thanks to Carole's hard work with new CEOs coming on board. There's not a lot of people at United Way Worldwide who even have experience in the field. And so people are coming and they're like, who do I just ask? What's an employee campaign? Or I got this board issue, who do I deal with? And they make a call and no one answers their call, or no one knows. And so Carole can plug people in to just get, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be a mentorship. It doesn't have to go on and on and on. It's like, do you want to talk to somebody for an hour? She can just plug it in. And
can I add something to what you're just saying, Barbara? People talk about, the largest company in the global corporate leadership is Publix. That's a regional company. It's not even a national company. It's not international. And they're a wonderful company, bless their souls. Without them, we'd be up the creek without a paddle. But my point is there's not a lot of development of corporate buy-in to the United Way mission, vision, and strategies. And some of you, and I know, Barbara, you'd remember this, Brian spent a lot of time up on Wall Street. Before him, Betty, before her, Arimony, for better or worse. But the point is there was constant relationship building, and maybe it's still going on, but evidence some of the losses. You know, I say to people around here, there was a time when Shearson Lehman, American Express was the big one, JCPenney was the big one, UPS was the big one. And I could go on and on and on and on and on. And so if she could listen to, and not necessarily, I mean, you guys who've been around, she could really benefit. So hopefully she's listening to you. Maybe Carole, you can continue to develop. You've done a great job, by the way. I've witnessed a huge improvement in this. So congratulations.
Oh,
Congratulations. We're going to stop.
It's great.
And I
Yeah.
just want to share one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Carole. And I'm channeling Kitty here about this because we just, so there's a lot of individuals on the phone, or Anna works in local United Way, but her reason for being here is for her as an individual to get involved. So there's that whole thing. And then we have a whole group of local United Ways who are members. And we need to get better at figuring out, started that they just kind of supported us because they thought there should be a retiree association. They just wanted to throw some money at us. But as things have gotten tighter, then you got to have, so what's the reason? And we just recently did some focus groups, and we asked them about what was most on top of their mind that we could be helpful. The number one thing was, not a surprise, CEO support and mentorship. Just, that's what they wanted. But this was my surprise. The number two thing, totally surprised, was community impact. They are still having trouble putting community impact to work, figuring out how to make a difference in their community, whatever they're working on, whether it's education, income, or health. And so when I look at Kitty, it's like, boy, if we have a local United Way who's trying to do something in health, Kitty would be a great resource. And even though we started doing that work about community impact now, I don't know, it's 15 years ago, people are still having a hard time, and people are still coming into United Way thinking it's a fundraising organization, attracted because they want to do impact, but they have a board who wants to fundraise. So sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so there's still tons of work to be done.
Yeah. And that's essential work. I mean, the work in the organizations I'm on is all about systemic structural change. It is the only work worth doing, and it's really, really hard. And United Ways are in such a vital, trusted position to drive that. So now I really have to go, but I'm really glad I stayed the extra couple of minutes.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bring us home.
I had a quick question for Barbara, and we don't need to answer it now.
Okay.
But the thing, and when we were back in the impact days, I think is when I was working with you, but the other thing that I've noticed, at least in our United Way too, is there's still a tendency for people in impact to still make it a United Way thing. They're not very good about reaching out and including community. And I don't know if that's an issue. And the other thing about me that ends up happening when I was on the Points of Light Council and when I'm at United Way Worldwide is I often represent the smallest organization, and I'm with lots of big groups, like big cities, and people would say from smaller places, well, none of that relates. And I'm pretty good at scaling down things. So sometimes the perspective from a small United Way might be helpful to a small United Way. So I would guess even today, I'm from the smallest community.
Yeah, it's up and down and all around. Absolutely. Yeah.
So Anna was asking in the chat if we have any local United Way staff or CEOs on our board. So I just put in the names of 3 of our members. We do, and we've been actively recruiting people that are, current staff as well as alumni that are, the 40 and under that are still working full time, not just retirees. It's really become a little more of a diverse board. In the last 2 years, we've added 9 new board members total in the last year. So that's, I think, great. And, we don't just replace people. Those folks were rolling off. They've ended their terms. So really positive. And I know we're past the time, so I want to go ahead and bring us home by just really reminding you that it's so important for us that we engage you in the way that you want to be engaged. So there's opportunity to find us on our website at uwnext.org and see the events that are out there. We're on social media. Really, the area that I'd focus on is LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure you follow our LinkedIn page, because that's where you'll get some of the news and events and things that are happening. We also, as you know, Caitlin sends out regularly the events emails. So that's where you'll see a whole list of the quarterly activities for that time frame. And you are likely already signed up for our newsletter, which, you know, is popular for some of our members, that's how they get their news, so to speak. So Caitlin's throwing in the link or in the chat, our website, but we will follow back up with you after this session, and we can share with you the slide deck that was shared today and also this recording. So if there's something that you're like, I think I heard something, but I'm not sure what that is, you know, touch base with us. I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one as well to go over any questions that you might have. And we just, again, want to really welcome you and thank you for being here today. And without any further ado, you know, I'll just say we'll stay on for a minute or two if there's something that you all, some pressing questions. We don't have a firm stop, but we understand that you all may. So thanks for your time today. It's so nice to meet all
It's so
of
good
you.
to see everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this, all of you. Thank you very much for putting this together.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Pam, I'm